and today's virtual fireside chat with Zelt and Nicholas with a sharing topic of From Commercial to Community, Young Entrepreneur Stories with Zelt and Nicholas from ARx Media. Before we jump into the whole fireside chat, I would like to introduce you guys to these two amazing young entrepreneurs. So we start off with Zelt, right? So Zelt is actually the managing director of ARx Media. And just a brief of his background, that he's an entrepreneur that is driven in spearheading innovative community and business development initiatives to provide sustainable, impactful solutions to address community needs. And also, he is an expert in business development and business modeling to provide a competitive advantage for businesses' project planning and project management. So that is Zelt. So the next person is Nicholas. So Nicholas is the director of ARx Media. Before he devotes his work full-time to ARx Media, Nicholas is actually a freelancer. So he freelanced as a web designer for SME and startups after achieving a bachelor's degree. With a passion to digitalize the business industry in his hometown, which is Kuching in Sarawak. Nicholas developed and managed numerous websites that tell the story of local businesses. So basically, this is just a very brief introduction, but I would like to hear a little bit from the both of you. Maybe just a quick introduction, a little bit more about yourself to our audience, and then we can carry on with some of the other fireside chat. Yeah, so maybe we can start from Zelt.
Okay, thanks, Malcolm. Okay, where should I start? All right, I guess I can actually start from how I turned into an entrepreneur. I was a civil engineer by study. So I graduated from a Bachelor of Engineering in Civil Engineering, and I have been practicing as a civil engineer for 2 years. After that, I found that, I have this urge of doing something of my own, okay, something of a business that is able to be more engaged with the public, because as a design engineer, my best friend would very likely be my laptop or my computer. So that was when I retired myself from my engineering career, and I've joined an NGO, social youth and leadership development platform, and that's where I met Nicholas as well. So my entrepreneur journey started in 2016, and it has been a exciting 4 years.
That's very interesting. From an engineering background and now become an entrepreneur in the tech environment, especially in the tech scene, right? So, Nicholas, tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I will just start off like Zelt. After graduating my degree, I was being offered to have a job in a local company that is relatively huge. But then I was also at the same time offered to have my master's in postgraduate in my current university. Then from these two options, I basically chose the latter one, which is pursuing my master's. And then while pursuing my master's, I had like tons of time, free time, which I have no idea what to do. So when after graduating from university, sometimes you are lost in life, like what to do next. So my idea, my approach is that I try to join local communities like the one Zelt mentioned, Junior Chamber International, and I joined Toastmasters Club and some social community clubs. Then from there, I get to know Zelt and most of our team members as well. And the thing that I've learned from communities is so much, which I will be sharing later on, that impacts my decision in the approach of work or life. Yeah.
Wow. So would you both able to share with us, like, how old are you guys?
Wow. Maybe I'll let Nicholas start.
Yeah, I'm the younger one. Yeah, because our age group is kind of balanced in a way, except Zell.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, yep. In a way of saying, actually, I do feel like we are about the same age because I went into university 3 years later than my peers. I was working before I eventually pursue my tertiary studies. So I was actually 3 years behind my current batch. So I was in the same batch as the 1990s. So that is a very good hint of how old am I.
Yeah.
And eventually, I think that this experience and this journey actually allows me to have more exposure in the world. And I would also say that that is part and parcel of who I am now and where I have came to. So yeah, I'm the eldest among the rest of the team members.
The big brother of all.
Yeah.
So how Nicholas, you mentioned about you and Zelt met through a community event. So would you share with us, like, what community is that, like how you guys meet each other?
Okay. Yeah. We met through this community called Junior Chamber International, JCI in short, whereas it focused more on empowering individuals in a lot of fields. So I was introduced to JCI by another friend, which is Louis, our CTO of our company, that he was like, hey, there's this organization, let's join in and maybe do something out of it. Then I was like, since there's no obligation or no responsibility and stuff, I just got cheated in, like blindly joining in. And then I met really wonderful people that I don't think I've ever encountered in my years in university or school life. So because joining local communities like JCI or Toastmasters, you tend to meet people that shares the same interests and do not have like those kind of one thing, like a culture that is I want to get something out of you. It's more of a community where you give and take. Yeah, that's how I met Zelt from that, because he was the president in that year when I joined in as his board of directors.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Zelt, do you have anything to add on to that? Like, so basically you guys you only met each other from JCI, right?
Yep. So this is a interesting story that I always shared. I was a ex-Leo member. In my high school years, I was the president of a Leo club in my high school in SM Technic. So when I was, when I retired myself from my engineering career, I always wanted to have a sense of belonging to an organization which I was greatly involved when I was younger, because through my university years, I have been mostly studying, and I was actually considering to join the Lions Club or the Rotary Club. And it just happened that one of my senior was the president on 2016, and I saw that he joined this organization called JCI. And after studying it, it's an organization that talks about youth and leadership development, in which I believe it's a segment that I like. I really need more, society training and community training on these aspects. And I took up the responsibility as the local president in 2017. And I believe it has been one of my most memorable years. And that is also where I've met Louis, Johnny, Luke, and Nicholas. They were all my board of directors. And that has been one of the key events in my life. And because of that encounter, we have been sticking together since then. So it has been a good 4 years coming to an end.
Nice. That's a very nice story. I think a lot of startup founders and startups also meet their co-founders through various networking events or community driven events, right? Yeah. So I totally understand and feel how you guys feel, and how the whole connection being connected, right? So yeah. So the next question that I will have for Nicholas is that how did ARx Media actually turn into reality? Would you able to share a little bit more about how the idea come into place, and actually what actually does ARx mean, or what actually you guys do?
Okay, all right. Now I'll start off with a simple story from our founder. So back in my uni years, when I think after my graduation, I pursued my master's, so I joined in all these local communities and stuff. Then we have this one guy called James Lee. He was actually, after knowing that Zelt traveled to work and travel in United States, he applied for this. And then he went on to US and certain European countries. And he was like mind blown by the technology that is offered out there, which we have not encountered in Sarawak or in Malaysia. Then he was so amazed about the technology out there, like virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality and stuff, that he called so many of his friends from Kuching. Then I'm being one of them. I was like, yeah, I'm interested in tech and I'm an enthusiast in this kind of stuff. So when you come back, let's do it together. Then he got so many confirmation from his friend and stuff. We were like, okay, when he actually got back from United States and assembled the team, none of them except me and another person acknowledged him. Then we were like, oh, let's do this. And then people, it's like we distribute the task. Okay, let's form a company. Let's build something for Sarawak. Let's bring in the technology from United States or from foreign country. Then we started off with a company called Xense. It is spelled as Xense. It's like human sensors, but with an X in front. It's like more of a technology sensors. So then from Xense, it is just me and James Lee, and the other guy basically just dropped off because he got other commitment. Then the two of us struggle to actually start off this startup, as in like we are relatively new in the market. We don't have much working experience and stuff. And we were like, okay, we had one big project and stuff. And then from there, we met our other partners, for example, Zelt and Louis and Cool and Luke. So they are on another entity, another startup called Multi-Thread. So from there, Xense and Multi-Thread, we basically formed together, and we formed it to call ARx. Because from the name itself, ARx basically focus more on augmented reality, and then with a small x is actually from Xense. Because our idea, our vision is that we will start off with augmented reality as it is more matured in the later years. And when this is more matured, we will have even more companies that follows. Yeah. Our team comprises of, I would say, myself, James Lee. I'm the more of the data director and web design department, and James Lee is more of the PR, public relations, sales director, and Zelt being the managing director oversees the whole company. And we have a graphic designer, Johnny. We have Christine as our operations director and admin. And we have my brother as well, because when we started our startup, I was like, we can't afford to really hire anyone. So my brother is kind of like, he also graduated from his degree. He has like, not to say nothing to do. He can work in a company. And I'm like, oh, just come and join us. Even though I couldn't afford to pay him yet, but he's like, he sees the vision in this company, the things that we can do. So Aaron joined in as our administrative and finance too. And we have finally Louis. Louis is the brain of the company, as in like the technology director. So he developed most of our system and stuff. Yeah. So the core team member will be the 7 of us. And yeah, we do have other partners and interns that join us, part-timers and stuff. Yeah. Zelt, you have anything to add on?
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up the company. I think that it's a very beautiful thing that the whole thing came together along the way, because being a startup, usually people start very lean and very small, and then when most people in the market know that, oh wow, you have seven co-founders and not some of them say, wow, that's a very big team. But I believe that everybody sees the vision that as a company that is to grow and scale, we have people to take care of most of the departments that is very crucial and important in running and managing the business. And I think that that's a good way to start, even though it may be a little bit rough in the very beginning, but this allows us to have the capacity to actually take on bigger challenge and also provide more support to our team members and keep everyone motivated and on pace during this entrepreneur journey.
But I think it's very true that starting off from small, right? So Zenz started off from 2-person, and multi-trade is 3-person. So that's where you basically have 2 different startup or company, right? And then you solve that chemistry, that collaboration, and the flow of it. Then you guys come together, and that's how you kick off ARx Media, right? So I think that is something that is very interesting. Not a lot of company, not a lot of startup yet in Sarawak that basically went through what you guys went through. So this is something super inspiring and very interesting to get to see this in Sarawak itself, in Kuching, right? So so Zelt, what are the main goals of establishing ARx Media?
Okay, this is actually something that I've been thinking, because like what Nicholas mentioned previously, it's between Zenz and Multitrade. It was like 2 partnership between 2 companies, and I found that there's a lot of inefficiency in terms of communicating, because it's basically a communication between 2 companies, even though most of the time we'll be working on the same project. So along the months going through, and that's where I also bring in another of my junior in university, Christine, where I was actually talking about the idea about having everybody just come in as one company, so that everybody can be more the communication between each other can be more transparent, because we will be reflecting the same company. So the main goals of the business itself is also to provide this platform for our team members, because I do believe for all the team members to come together for a startup that basically has almost 0 pay at the very beginning, it is because that each and every one of us will have a dream that they want to pursue. So ARx Media is established as a platform to cater for those dreams of our team members. Let it be anything that they want to accomplish in their life. So bringing the value to the marketplace also in one part, and allowing them to excel in the entrepreneurial career. Because I don't see the company as it's being owned by one particular person, but everybody holds this ownership of this company. So along the way, as we create more projects that has more value to the community, especially to local businesses and our members of the public, we hope that it can be a strategic software house to provide this one-off solution from all the way from product design, from market validation, from business model design, launching, and even maintenance. So this is the goal that I would want to accomplish as the company grows, so that it will reduce the inefficiency and also the initialization cost of most of our projects. And as time goes on, this can be a platform for everybody to grow and show their strength and contribute towards the growth of the company. So that is where I see the company being this platform.
Got it. Yeah. So as per our topic today, right? We are here to have to talk about, like, from commercial to community, right? So so what is the so basically what ARx Media's approach or vision in assisting the community? This question can be open to either one of you.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll answer that. Yeah, we categorize this into 2 parts. We will have like the government sector and the private sector. So government sector wise, we are actually envisioning that Sarawak itself to have a more tech driven community and businesses, whereas we leverage more on technology to execute our business. So our role in this part is that we don't reintroduce stuff. It is more of like we letting the government department knows that our company are able to proceed with all this technology that is out there. Because when we talk about virtual reality or mixed reality 2 years ago, when we started our company, there's not much, maybe 1 or 2 companies in Sarawak that actually have the capability of doing this. So we are trying to like push or support or like accelerate the growth of this technology. What we want Sarawak people to better understand what are the technologies out there that can use to help their businesses. So our vision is that for the government department, because they are more because we have our chief minister, which really focus more on digitalizing economy. Yeah. Then for the private sector, we do have like local businesses where most of our local businesses, they run their businesses traditionally, meaning to say they do trade face-to-face or maybe the traditional way, meaning to say they don't leverage much on technology. And the way we see the current trend nowadays, especially during at times like this, a pandemic, people are more prone to accepting online businesses. They get to know that, oh, I can actually use Facebook or Shopee, Lazada, this platform to sell my businesses on top of my traditional ways of doing it. So our role is to transform, to digitalize their local businesses online so that they have an online presence. They can better manage their businesses locally or internationally. Yeah, because only our vision is that only through digitalizing your company, your businesses, you can scale in a very fast pace. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That is very it's very interesting that as what you mentioned about like bringing tech, right, and to in a way to educate at the same time to the local community, be it a government sector or be it private sector, right? So as we all know that Sarawak has been moving pretty fast for within this 3 years on average, on 3 years, yeah, like really like moving. And I think that's the whole there's a lot more opportunity coming up, and that's where you guys come in to provide that and to support local community. And that's why we're talking about go from commercial to community. And the next part that I would like to ask Zelt would be like, could you share the community projects that ARx Media are currently involved in that I mean during this period of time?
Okay, probably I would like to redefine this word of being commercial to community. I see the company as far as I've come through in an NGO and as a company director, I do see that there's actually a very close link between company projects and community projects, in which some of the parties may see that if you are doing a community project, you should not have any profits, in which I will strongly disagree, because as a layout of social enterprises, they are actually focusing a lot on a company's business model, in which maybe part of their operations are contributing back to the company and whatnot. So this is also the ideology that we are hoping to adopt. Besides being a company that's making profit out of our businesses, we are hoping that the processes or even the proceedings of these projects are able to contribute back to the society and to our community. So as of now, one of our bigger projects that we are working on would be the Qmunity project. Qmunity project is one of these initiatives that was initiated during this pandemic period, the COVID-19 period, especially during our MCO period. And it was I would say it's an I wouldn't say it's an extension, but it is an initialization of our smart city initiative. Because prior to the pandemic period, we were actually working extensively on smart city initiatives in which we see it as a valuable asset that can actually help our community proceed in terms of digitalizing their businesses and also being engaged with the authorities or even expedite their processes within their business. So Qmunity began as a check-in app in which allows the Ministry of Health or even the patient investigation unit to have movement data of individuals that is traveling between premises. And this has been proven useful when the Jabatan Kesihatan Negeri Sarawak (JKNS) has approached us to retrieve information about all this check-in information. And it's also through this process that we actually learn a lot about all this Privacy Data Protection Act and whatnot, Personal Data Protection Act. And aside from Qmunity itself being a community initialized application, we have also worked with the Sarawak Tourism Board and the Sarawak Convention Bureau in helping them elevate the tourism industry in Sarawak, especially during this economic, downfall, and then hoping that the local tourism trend can eventually pick up, and this can actually help the economic growth of the small and medium enterprises within Sarawak, whether it be Kuching or other nearby cities and towns in Sarawak. And that is some of the projects that we are doing in terms of community engagement.
Right. So, I mean, earlier on you mentioned about like not to say, I mean, as our topic is from commercial to community, being said that is because we are looking in an aspect of the, because of course this is ARx Media is actually more on a commercial, like revenue driven, but you guys are still giving back to the community. That's what we are. That's why today we have this conversation here, that how this whole thing can be done, right? So what you shared, it's really amazing that it's true. So there's always a bit of a hybrid between a social enterprise model plus a commercial model. So being said that, right, from the commercial point of view, should a startup venture into community projects? I mean, because we all understand that startups or young entrepreneurs, when you first start a business, that sustainability it's very important. That's why I think I really agree of what your point was just now, that putting in not just commercial but the social aspect to it as well. So this question, it's more to like it's either Nicholas or Zelt. What would be your point of view in terms of, like, from a commercial point of view, should a startup venture into community projects?
I'll take this. This would be a very tricky question, actually. My answer, I think it will be the same as Nicholas. It will be no and yes. Why I say no and yes, but not yes and no, because I think the no should be a little bit on the emphasis side. I think that any startup should actually always focus on the value that they bring to the marketplace, and it has to be on a validated and relevant business model, because every business is set up to make profit that will then sustain the company, its employees, and its operations. So this may be the core of it. It may or may not be a community-driven project. Certain community-driven projects has a very solid business models in which it is able to sustain itself, but some, unfortunately, it's more of a tap where you would have to actually put in money to execute it. So I strongly believe in the survivability of the team and the company first, because especially during these crucial times and at the first few years, if the company is unable to sustain itself, then altogether the company would not be surviving, will not be present in the market as time goes on, because eventually the business just fails, and then team members are unable to feed themselves, and then move on to other things that, you know, is able to provide food on the table. So this is also the part that I'm actually very grateful that our core team members are able to, you know, support each other, and, you know, some even are willing to offer a pay cut during the beginning of the startups, you know, in order for others to survive. And I believe that this is one of the beauty of a startup environment, and those are the hardships that we have gone through, and until today, being united still as one. So for the second answer of yes, I do believe that as time goes on, any company should actually consider a community project. Let it be in forms of donation or being sponsors for organizations that are actually doing community projects on a professional basis. Certain organizations that namely a few, like maybe the Red Crescent, or, you know, the St. John Ambulance, or, you know, Salvation Army and whatnot, those that are actually doing all these community projects, these companies can actually consider to give back as a CSR or whatnot, or even initialize their own community projects. And these are also some of the things that I do believe can actually help their company build a sense of ownership and support from the local community. For example, one of the big companies that I do look up to is Sunway Group. Through my involvement in my NGO years, I've actually come to know that the Sunway Group is actually one of the few companies that adopted the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals into their company's operation and management. They even go to the extent that, you know, even name cards, they try to minimize the name card culture, giving up name cards in terms of saving paper, or even in their universities, they stop selling one single-use plastics and contributing towards a more sustainable and environmental friendly campus. And I do think that this is actually the small things that a company can actually do besides big projects that can actually help make our local community a better place. And this is also something that I mentioned just now, that companies can actually take references of the structure of social enterprises. And I do believe that these efforts can actually elevate the public awareness of the company, and also their projects from helping the community as well. And who knows, this can even, you know, be returned in terms of profits for the company. And I think this is a very good cause that everybody can actually think about.
So next question of mine would be like, how can you guys or maybe like, for example, ARx Media, how do you all measure the impact that is that the project that you are doing now for the on the community project, basically? How do you measure the impact actually?
This is a very, how do we measure? Because I'm more of a data-driven person, so I would say the number of users that uses our app, Qmunity app, is there. So the more we have that they use the app, the more they acknowledge the importance of this tracking, the COVID tracing thing. So yeah, data is one thing. And Zelt, you have something to elaborate?
Oh, by the way, sorry. By the way,
sorry.
for anyone who don't know what Qmunity is, so it's spelled as QUM Q
without the
Q
U.
Q
QM.
How do you spell it? Sorry, Qmunity. QM.
UNITY.
Yeah, sorry, QMUNITY. Yeah, so it's very interesting to know that from the word community, and you use it into a community, right? Sorry.
Yeah. So a short story on that is because we are trying to adopt the technology of QR codes as well. So Q is a representation of QR code, in which we do believe there is a very vast adaptation in the markets within recent years. So Qmunity is based on a community project that will be probably using a lot of QR codes.
Yes.
Okay, so going back to the question just now, I do agree with Nicholas. In terms of measuring impact, I think the number of people and businesses involved in our projects are one of the indicators. The second one, which some people may not like to agree, but I think that the revenue of the company is also an indicator. The more you earn, meaning to say that a lot more people are accepting of this solution. Okay, for instances, actually there's one thing that me and my soulmate has always wanted to do is we wanted to start a foundation. Okay, a foundation that takes a tiny fraction of the portion of our the profits of a company, let it be 1%, you know, like to build a foundation that is able to contribute back to the society in whichever aspects that we choose. And I take this as a basketball player and also a basketball fan. I've come to see a lot of the greatest basketball player of all time, like one of the ones that was within my era, LeBron James. He actually had this LeBron James Foundation, I do believe, LeBron James Family Foundation, which he has been recognizing the importance of education, because he come from Akron, Ohio, where when he was younger, I believe that he did not receive the education that was required. So as he became a basketball superstar, he contributed back through his earnings into building a foundation that is able to support the city that he grew up from. And I do believe that ARx, as we grow it bigger and bigger, and then as all of us are grassroots from Kuching as well, hoping that one day our projects is also able to, you know, have the proceedings that will be able to contribute back to the growth of certain sectors or certain people, underprivileged people within Kuching, to give them have a more of an opportunity for incredible futures ahead of them. And I think that this is something that would be very inspiring to do as well.
Well said, Zelt and Nicholas. Right, this is really something that I think what you guys are doing is pretty amazing. As a very young startup or a very young company, right, and also a group of very young, energetic entrepreneurs as well, right? So the next question that I have for you both would be that how would you balance the goals being a commercial entity as well as a contributor to the community? I mean, you need to have a balance of both, right?
Probably I'll say that balancing the goals of a commercial entity and the contributor towards community will greatly differ depending on the company itself. So certain company will emphasize more on towards the commercial side, and certain may think that, you know, the community is also something very important. I would say that there is no right and wrong answer to this, but as a business owner myself and also a member of an NGO, I do believe that the emphasis on the commercial entity should be more. I would say that in a way, because you see, I actually experienced this firsthand. When I began my entrepreneur journey earlier in back 2016, I was also a very devoted member in the NGO, and I spent a very big amount of time contributing towards society. And I do find the joy in being able to help a lot of people, but very soon I find that I actually bottleneck my capacity to actually help more people, because aside from helping people, I was also have a responsibility as a family member to take care of my family. So this is the realization that I think that as you are able to secure your financial success yourself, you would then have the capacity to be empowered to actually help more people. And as one of my mentors once said to me, okay, be successful, and be successful that instead of being able to help just a handful of people, why not we are able to help thousands or perhaps even millions of people to come. But that I do believe is a great wisdom, and it's a very true thing. So in terms of the balance between these two, at a later stage, it can be really a balance. But as going through the journey, I do believe the emphasis on the commercial entity should be a little bit more, okay, to ensure the success and the sustainability of the company first, and then moving on to reaching out towards the people that we can actually help. So that's my personal view. So Nicholas, you have anything to add?
Wow, you actually sums it all. But yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you saying that the corporates, we have to take care of our own team or ourselves first in order to help the community, because if not, if we were to burn out and stuff, the traces that we leave behind, the people that were hoping for us to help them, is like suddenly we are gone. They suddenly lost contact to us, and they are like, hey, where are they? Because we are so burnt out of ourselves, we do so much to the community, we do not take care of ourselves. Yeah, these things tends to happen a lot. So we have to focus on maintaining our own company or startup. Then from there, once our needs is being taken care of, then we proceed to others.
Nicely said. Nicely said for the both of you. Seriously, it's really true that sustainability, end of the day, is still very important for I mean, whether you are just starting up or you've been running this for a few years, right? Still, sustainability, it's very, very important. And then, like what Zelt mentioned, you need to able to sustain yourself, and then only you are able to provide to others, right? But in what you both mentioned as well, I think there's always different ways of contributing back to the community, not just monetary wise, right? Not about sponsorships or donations, but there's a lot of areas that you guys can contribute, or any startup can contribute to the community. For example, both of you or the company of ARx are able to provide, or maybe not provide, like contribute back to the community by using the skill sets that you guys have, right? And that is something what you guys are currently doing, which is on Qmunity, the app, right? You guys are not putting in money for it, but you guys are pretty much putting your skill set into it. I mean, of course, there are some monetary aspects of it that the company is subsidizing this particular project, but mainly it's still the skill sets that you guys put in a lot, especially the time, the developer team, right? That is something that I think any startup or any company, when you want to contribute back or give back to the community, it's not just about money, but it's also about the skill sets that how you can provide and help. I mean, the community that needs help, right? So I think one thing to add on is that through a conversation between me and Nicholas the other day, was talking about, like, for example, contributing the skill sets, right? Literally for some of the entrepreneurs or small business owners that are really not in touch with technology at all, and especially they are in a very rural area, or basically they are just a small little business, right? And providing services to them and educating them on how to actually have more digital footprint. I think that is something that what you guys are doing, which is quite amazing as well, right? So we are pretty much on time. Before we go to the Q&A session, what would be your advice to young entrepreneurs who are eager to help the community? We can start from Nicholas.
Okay, young entrepreneurs. Yeah, I will put this into aspect of like if you have that passion suddenly from maybe after school or after graduation, I would say join any local communities that you are being introduced to. It can be your high school clubs, or Interact clubs, Leo clubs, or JCI. Yeah, Toastmasters. Join this club and try to understand like how do they operate a community like this. What are the day-to-day operations? What are the costs involved? How do they lay out their organization, like who are the top management and why is he in there, and then who should do what. So by understanding all this, how they do it, how they execute it, you can have a better, you can continue the community there to help out, or you can even develop your own social enterprise or your own community and help even more people by giving. Yeah, that would be my advice to the young entrepreneurs for
Nice.
social community.
Zelt.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with what Nicholas is actually saying, because like it or not, one of our success examples from JCI is actually I actually built two company, one with Nicholas and the gang, and the other one with my spouse on a confinement care business. But both companies are being structured in a very similar way. It's basically structured using a structure that we learn in JCI. So that is also in terms of meeting agendas and whatnot. So I agree with Nicholas that if you have no idea on what to do in your entrepreneur journey, maybe join any organization, okay, whichever which you would think that is able to provide you with that opportunity, and that would actually be an insightful journey. But aside from that, something that I would be an advice that I would say that I would give young entrepreneurs is actually two words: do something. Because very much I see that a lot of people tend to have their ideas died, okay, in their brain. Okay, so just now Nicholas did mention about like James Lee being that person who went to US. Okay, I'll share the side of my story. You know, when I came back from, when I was going to United States with my brother during the work and travel period, a lot of people actually came to me asking, "Oh, that's a very amazing journey. You know, like how do you go? You know, what's the procedure and everything?" James Lee was one of them. But what actually caught me as him being a partner candidate is he's actually one of the very many that actually went. You know, like he did something about it. So doing something, I think it's something very important. Like some people always think that when you are successful, then you are, you know, and you are able to help people. But I do believe that it's not the amount that matters. It's the intention that actually matters. Like if you have the intention to help someone, help them now. Even when you have nothing, you do something small. But when you have the capacity to do more, you will be able to help more people. So in short, I would say to young entrepreneurs, let it be charity or let it be work. Okay, what is the advice that can actually be very useful, especially to myself, is to do something. If you think that something needs to be done, do it, and then along the way that would then compound into hopefully massive success towards their journey. So that's from
Wow.
my side.
You guys gave a very strong inspiration. Like really, this really is the most important part. Like what Nike said, just do it, right? And in the whole entrepreneur journey, it's also about experiencing it as well, like making it happen. And like what we always said, right? Like the earlier you fall, the faster you learn, right? But don't be demotivated after you fail. The more you fail, the more you will grow, and the faster you grow. And the most important thing is to be part of a group of amazing community that provides support. because we also experience, or we managed to see some, be it a startup founder or a community builder or community leaders that basically got burnt out because of a lot of time and effort and whatever that we are contributing or giving. That's something that we need to have, that kind of support system that are able to provide them the guidance or to help them to stand up again, right? So thank you very much for the two of you sharing your entrepreneurship journey. But before we go, we wrap up, we do have a few questions that is from the audience. We have one. Nigel actually basically congratulate you guys on the Qmunity app. And he said here that it seems like you guys were one of the first few to have come up with a COVID app. How did you guys figure out what features to include without having many COVID apps to reference from? What was the most challenging aspect through developing this app? I think he is also referring to the first COVID tracing app that is actually being the first in basically in Sarawak.
Okay, I think this is something that the core team has been brainstorming throughout the COVID period, and how we always approach the challenges that we face. I'm a strong believer of the first principles. Sometimes the easiest things are always probably the strongest approach that we can get. You see, during that period of time, a lot of people has been talking about like Bluetooth contact and like even camera tracking and all these things, which it sounds really, really glamorous and it sounds really techy, in which if it's being successfully carried out, yeah, it could probably be techy, but the execution part, we always fall back to the first principles. And even Louis, our CTO is always a strong believer that how easy is it being adopted, and how easy are people accepting this solution. And so QR code is, it's a technology that has been around for a very long time, and we do think that it's one of the easiest way that people can get on board this check-in system. And it is also a way that we were thinking, as long as a person goes into a premise and it's being enforced, we are able to keep track of where they have been to. But instead, if you're opting for Bluetooth, some people may turn off their Bluetooth. Some people don't like the idea of draining their phone. So then we will be creating a solution that is still flawed. I wouldn't say that it's not workable, but you give an option for them to still turn it off. So this is what we thought in the very beginning of this, and along the way we just keep improving it as the user feedbacks come in.
Oh,
and
nice.
That's how we started.
So with following with the next question, it's also from Nigel. With digital tech being quite a focus in the future of Sarawak, what direction do you expect or hope to see for tech in the coming years for Sarawak?
Nicholas?
Okay. Yeah. Now we talk a lot about 5G, right? Of course, there are times, there's a period of transitioning from 4G to 5G infrastructures and stuff. But we are foreseeing a future whereas when 5G is around, internet connection wouldn't be a problem. Then there are so many things that can be done. For example, a smart city, whereas every technology like traffic lights or signs and stuff can be changed seamlessly. So if this particular location is so crowded, it's so jammed, congested, the traffic light might be faster and allow more train, because it will know that from the other point is more free. So it is like, because connection is not an issue, everything is talking to each other. So a more congestion free society will be happening. And another vision that we have is that when 5G is here, AR would be so convenient for people, because currently when we are using augmented reality AR, we are using our phone, right? But in the future, when big corporations like Apple, or if Google will happen to do it again, Apple and Google, they will develop this AR glass, whereas your glass is your smartphone, because everything is connected directly to maybe a small devices behind your ears that is transmitting like non-stop. So everything that you see would be like popping up from your spectacles. Yeah, that is the power of AR, and we will call it MR as well, mixed reality. Yeah, this is the tech that we are building towards.
And I think that it's not. I think it's
Yeah.
not that far. It's very
Yep,
close
and
already.
It's not.
Yep.
It is. Actually,
I
Apple,
really do think that that's not so far.
yeah, Apple is already developing it. They are just not announcing the
Yeah.
Apple Glass
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. So yeah.
So
Sure.
probably I'll add on a bit about that. You see, Nicholas himself, probably to sell him a bit, he's actually a master's in data science. You see, there's a lot of big words in the tech industry that a lot of people are actually thinking, like, big data, artificial intelligence, all these very big words that often scare people. So I do think that all this tech, especially in Sarawak, I do hope that these techs would then be able to really help the community in advancing, in making our lives easier and better, let it be more efficient, and like to be able to really help, but not being not being underrated. I mean, I'm being underrated because you see, Kuching and Sarawak, even though we are from this side of the world, people tend to think that we live on trees and we use elevators, that kind of a thing. But I do believe that the time, when the time comes, Sarawak can be on the international playing field in terms of tech advancement if the CM's vision is being upheld by all of us, and that would be the near future that we
Nicely
will all be
said.
seeing.
Personally, I think that
Yep.
the infrastructure and the whole tech scene, it's really picking up. It's really picking up, and in a very short span of time, we have so many startup that pops up, or basically now growing in Sarawak. So I think it's very close. Like I said, very close. And yes, we do have that. I mean, we do have that vision, and that and basically now is like we also have the talent, and we are quite fortunate that now we have a lot of Sarawakians that live abroad, but they actually move back. And when they move back, means that they are also contributing their skill sets and knowledge and exposure to our local community as well. So yes, thank you very much for your answer. And we got one last question. It's from Johan. Any particular upcoming projects you are particularly excited about at ARx?
Okay, this is a very tricky question. Okay, actually, yes lah, I would say lah. It's also part of the smart city initiative. We are a strong believer that on how a tech can actually fit into a person's life seamlessly, that you are using it even when you are not really realizing. Like, for example, e-wallet is something that some people has been using unconsciously because the trend of the market has been moving towards that direction. So one of the things that we are hoping to really work on is this community, this following phase of Qmunity, in which we are hoping to give businesses integrated business solutions that are able to help SMEs and even individual micro businesses from home, having the tools to go through these hard times, especially through digitalization of their business. Like, for example, a very affordable inventory and e-commerce platform, and also CRM and accounting. And this is also a shout out to the small businesses out there. We are hoping to offer a very affordable and very low barrier of entry integrated business solutions for all of the communities within Sarawak first, probably, okay, to allow them to adopt towards this digital shift. And I do believe that from adopting this, the business can actually have a better fighting chance of being relevant